So last month, my D2C brand did over $1.5 million in revenue. We spent 400,000 on Meta ads and about $30,000 on Google. That's a 13-to-1 ratio Facebook versus Google. Now, every YouTuber in this space will tell you that that split is wrong, right? They tell you that you need to diversify, that you're leaving money on the table. I'm going to show you the actual Shopify dashboard or actual ad accounts. And then I'm going to tell you the one thing that Meta is doing in our stack that Google literally cannot replace. And also the one thing Google is doing in our stack that Meta can't replace. And how you can know whether your brand should be running the same split or the opposite. So first things first, let's take a look at the Shopify dashboard here. This is the report for last month. We did 1.3 million euros for the online store sales channel. You can see this is filtered just for the online store. We have other sales channels in the business. We have retail locations, B2B distribution. So this isn't the full global picture either, right? We also have online store entities covering New Zealand, Australia as well. This one here is primarily most of the world, including the USA and Europe. So 1.3 million euros on this entity, just over $1.5 million USD. Now let me show you the Meta ads reporting. So the same account, same time period. Let me refresh this so you can see it's live to last month. We spent 345,000 euros, the equivalent of approximately $400,000. And our Meta reported ROAS was 2.78. Now, of course, take ROAS with a grain of salt. You know, it's not just about ROAS. We look at other metrics to determine the actual viability and success of our campaigns. Now, here's the full granularity of our online store traffic distribution. So this is just a report that we use to keep track of how things are moving day to day. You can see this is broken down by days in the rows here for last month, same time period. So the blue columns are representing Meta, the orange ones is Google, and then you can see the Shopify data ending with our net revenue figure here. We track net revenue, we track MER, blended attribution ROAS, blended CPA, new customer acquisition cost, all of this typical D2C stuff, right? Net revenue, new customer MER. So you can see the breakdown of new customers as well versus returning customer value. You know, we're factoring in returns as well as part of our net revenue calculation. We're optimizing towards a 3x net revenue MER on our paid media spend. We're at a 3.29. We hit a 3.29 for the month in March, which exceeded that. Let me just remove that to avoid confusion. What that means is that we're reinvesting about a third of our net revenue back into paid media. If we go above a third, ratio-wise, we're in the red zone, and we have to either improve the ROI per dollar we're spending, which usually means cutting spend and keeping the refined campaigns active, or fix something upstream somewhere else, right? But everything we spend on Meta and Google isn't there to hit a specific platform ROAS goal, as many businesses unfortunately still do. You know, they're both Meta and Google, they're working in tandem to maintain that 3x MER, that efficiency, or better in this case. Anything more efficient than a 3x MER is even better, right? It means that we're very profitable and we can keep scaling spend into both platforms, or the platform that's driving the incremental value. In our case, that's actually a Meta, right? Spoiler. Now, before anyone in the comments points this out, yes, if Meta ROAS is 2.79 on a $400,000 spend, that's only $1.1 million attributed. So where does the rest of the revenue come from? Some of it is Google, some of it is unattributed organic traffic, brand halo, word of mouth, returning customers who got the original demand from Meta months ago and then came back direct. And this is exactly why platform reported ROAS is not always accurate. You can't just rely on this number. And that's why I'm showing you the blended number, right? The revenue divided by the spend, no attribution gains. That's the only number that matters because that's what actually lands in the bank account. By the way, if you're new here, my name's Eddie. I'm a co-owner of Viba. We're an 8-figure global shoe brand. We make the comfiest shoes in the world. But I also run a growth agency for D2C brands like Viba. My agency actually powers the online store growth for Viba, and we manage over 5 million a month in media spend profitably across our entire brand portfolio. So a lot of data points and a lot of evidence behind the things that I'm going to show you today in this video. By the way, if you want to stay in the loop with the ups and downs of growing a D2C brand and running a D2C agency, check out my newsletter. Link is in the description below. So why is our ratio of Meta versus Google what it is? By the way, stay with me. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you, I will give you the exact framework for figuring out which split your brand should be running on. And that's actually the part that you came here for, right? So let's talk about why we have the ratio we have. Viva, Viva sells footwear, right? Footwear is a very visual demand creation category. Nobody wakes up Googling our exact product. They have to be shown it first to know it exists, and then they can consider buying it, right? And that is a Meta job. Meta creates the demand, and then Google captures it. And the one thing that Meta does that Google literally cannot replace is top of funnel cold audience reach at scale, driven by creative, right? We introduce dozens of new creators every single week. We're tapping into an audience that the search graph can't touch, right? People who don't know they want our product yet. And industry guides, I know, love to argue about this. And yes, Google reps will push you hard on demand gen, on YouTube cold targeting. I've seen it work, right? And some agencies claim it's the holy grail, but just being honest with you, I've spent money on it. We spend a lot every month testing things. And here's my POV, right? If you have to put in 10x the effort on Google to even come close to the results you can achieve on Meta for cold audience, is it worth it? Right? That's my take. On Meta, it's largely a creative conversation, right? Focusing on who you're speaking to, your message, the delivery of the ad. Whereas on Google, you're juggling offer congruency, you're testing landing pages, congruency of those landing pages, localization. There's a lot more work, and a lot of those initiatives are going to miss at first, right? You'll be churning spend, trying to find that golden nugget, but you don't know when that nugget's going to land, right? And Meta is a much more reliable way right now to get results, right? The risk is greater trying to attack cold spend on Google. And that's just my view, okay? So argue with me in the comments if you want to, but other people in the industry will tell you different things. I can only speak from my experience and what I've seen. And again, like I said, we manage a lot of money, right? Now, the one thing that Google does that Meta literally cannot replace is capturing existing intent, right? When somebody searches for Viva or that one comfy shoe I saw, Meta cannot be in that moment, right? Only Google can. That's branded search defense, right? That's high intent product searches, shopping placements. Google isn't getting 7% of our budget because it's bad. It's getting 7% because that's the size of the job it has to do for a brand like ours at our size that we're currently at, right? If we doubled Google spend tomorrow, we wouldn't double the revenue. We'd just be bidding against ourselves on branded terms, right? It starts cannibalizing each other. So there's a ceiling that you have to find before diminishing returns kick in on incremental sales. And Google loves to take credit for everything. It will tell you 5x ROAS, 10x ROAS, keep spending more money. But spending more doesn't necessarily mean that you're adding incremental value, incremental customers to your business, right? There are tests you can run to find out, conversion lift studies, but you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just throwing money at the problem, okay? So another question is, when should your brand run a Meta heavy split or a balanced split versus a Google heavy split? Based on everything that I know, my recommendation for you is you should run a Meta heavy split like us if your product is a visual demand creation category, right? Fashion, beauty, home, food, accessories. You have maybe low existing branded search volume, or you have strong creative output. You do a lot of photo shoots, video production. That's easy things you can feed the machine on Meta. Right? Meta feeds off of that stuff. Now, maybe your AOV, your AOV also has to be high enough to absorb Meta's CPMs and acquisition costs. All right, so that's if you want to be more leaning heavy towards Meta. When should you consider more of a 50-50 approach, right? More, maybe even 70-30, Facebook, Google, Facebook. I think you should consider that if your product is a considered purchase with both visual appeal and it has active research behavior. So think of things like furniture, fitness equipment, premium electronics. They tap into both of those areas, right? You're tapping both visual and the function of the product. Maybe you have moderate branded search volume, so you can tap into that some more as well. You might also have category level search demand to capture, not just the brand, right? So it's a bit more, there's a bit more opportunity overall. Now, on the flip side, you want to be Google heavy if you're in a replacement or repeat purchase category. You're selling supplements, parts, B2B consumables. Maybe you have strong existing search demand in the category that you're in. Maybe you have a weaker visual story, but a stronger functional story. That could be an opportunity for you on search on Google. Or maybe you're just trying to defend your brand against competitors that are bidding on it, right, on you. The honest test that you can take right now to figure this out is, if you turned Meta off for a week, would your revenue collapse or would it just dip? If it collapses, then you're a Meta-led brand and you should stop trying to balance and mess around with Google. If your revenue just dips, then Google is doing more work than you think, and you should look into funding it properly. Quick one, if this is landing for you, the video so far, then hit subscribe. I publish real numbers when I can from my businesses every month, and almost nobody else in this space does it. So consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it very much. Now, the worst trap that you can fall into as a brand, especially if you're under that $500,000, revenue monthly revenue mark, is either trying to balance your split across Meta and Google too much, or you're measuring these platforms on a ROAS basis in isolation. There's going to be a lot of overlap, or there's going to be some overlap between these platforms. And if you're looking at platform ROAS in isolation, you're missing the bigger picture of the customer journey, right? Maybe somebody comes in through Meta but closes on Google, and that follow through matters a lot. If you cut Meta in certain areas, that person never sees you to close through Google, and vice versa. The other version of the trap is maybe you don't have the creative volume to feed Meta properly, right? And the search budget to make Google compound at the same time. So you really want to pick the one that fits your category and run it as hard as you can, right? And fund the other one only for the specific job that it has to do. And what our $30,000 spend on Google each month is actually doing is, a lot of it is brand defense, actually. Making sure we show up when people search for our brand, our name, our products. We have a lot of copycats, right? It's very common in e-commerce. Brands that find some success, they also eventually attract dropshippers trying to compete. They create lookalike products. They rip your website, they rip your ads. But thankfully, luckily at Viva, we have a pretty strong moat. Our products are made in Portugal. It's very hard to emulate that from China. You can't really dropship our products. So, that said, it still causes a lot of headaches, and that's why brand defense exists and why we're spending on Google. We also have some shopping placements for high intent product searches. We have PMAX running. So, this isn't a test. It's not diversification for the sake of it. It's a defensive line. It's a capture layer. And that's pretty much it with Google. For us, we understand the role that Google plays. It plays a very important role. We've tested spending more and measuring that incremental gain over the last 4 years. We've had ups and downs, successes throughout that, figured out what works best for us. And we found something that, we can control the efficiency very accurately month on month, year on year. We've been growing every year profitably, successfully, sustainably. So we understand the role that each platform plays very well. Now, a mistake I see very often is this thing when brands hear diversify and they end up pulling 50,000 out of Meta and they put it into Google cold prospecting or things like that. Google cold prospecting for a fashion brand is very challenging, and you've just slowed your meta learning, and you've just lit $50,000 on fire on Google. Don't do that. So the real answer isn't which platform wins. It's really knowing which side of the line your brand sits on, and then funding each platform for the actual job it's meant to be doing. So for us in March, that happened to be 40,000 on Meta and 30 on Google. Next month, it'll probably be similar, just because the category won't change very much. But if you found value in this video, please consider subscribing. I'm going to keep posting videos showing the things that we're doing in the businesses, our campaigns, how we're spending, how we're making decisions, how we're troubleshooting our creative strategy. So lots more coming down the line. Also consider signing up for my newsletter, link in the description below. I write about the ups and downs of e-commerce. It's a very challenging business, as you probably can relate, but also very rewarding at the same time. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.